Hello coders, welcome to the Startup Code where we learn systematic coding. Now it's time that our task app should have our database integrated, and yes, we are going to use mongodb as our database. So before that we need to have Node.js installed in our system. So let's install it. I am on Windows, so I have already installed this 64-bit installer, but I will rerun the installer again for you all guys to see and understand it, the installation process. So yeah, this might take less time for me because I have already installed it. Do remember to check this so that it will automatically install the necessary tools. Next, and yeah, be patient while you are installing it for the first time. Okay, so installing additional tools. Okay, now after that it has been done, let's check it. Just type node-v. So okay, see, you can see we have 14.15.0 version installed. Okay, so now we can focus on creating our server side code, and we will understand why we need to make our server side code and everything. Okay, open with VS Code. Okay, you can see it's an empty folder, nothing is there. So now the first thing which we need to do is npm init. So npm stands for Node Package Manager and init for initialization. So we are just initializing Node Package Manager, and npm has packages developed by the developers so that we can use those packages in our server side coding, and it will ease our development process. So just press enter. Okay, after that you will see this package.json files made, and yeah, so as we have already done npm, so let's install one package which will help us a lot while making our server side code, that is express. So express, it helps us make apis so that our client side and server side can connect with each other, and we will look into that in details. So you can see one in the dependencies we have this express, and here we can see node modules and one package.json file. Okay, so now let's make our file. We can name it server.js or index.js or app.js. What we'll make it, name it server.js. Importing express, and now to use it we need to make an object out of it. So we will name it app, and okay, so here writing comments. Now before we move further, let's understand some concepts which will really help us a lot. So here I have one very good article. I'll paste the link in the description also. So we don't need to do everything, we will just use it to understand the concept. Okay, so right now we installed express with npm. So what is express? So express is a framework for building web applications, but in our case we are making our flutter app, so no worries. On top of node.js, so what express does is it simplifies the server creation process. And yeah, node we will be using javascript for our server side coding. And yeah, as already told earlier, mongodb will be our database, and this express, it will help us do these crud operations. So crud stands for create, read, update and delete, and in the express we have these methods like post, get, put and delete. We will see it while we will code. For example, on Instagram, when we upload something, we select take a right description and click on post button. This is create or post operation. When we scroll through Instagram, we read what other people have posted. that is read or get operation. When we update our bio, that is update or put operation. And when people delete post, when it does not get much like, it is delete operation. So here, if we put Crud Express in MongoDB, we can see this diagram. It will help us understand this. So this browser is our client, or we can say in our case, our Flutter Task App will be our client, and this server, it is what we are making using Node.js, and this database is our MongoDB. So using the CRUD operation, what we do is we make API calls using Express. We make API endpoints. We'll see it right now also. And from our client side, we send a request to the server using these API endpoints, and this server in turn sends a request to database if required and retrieve the information. So database will send the required data to the server, and server will send that data back to us. So if you have already worked with Firebase, you will see that in Firebase we don't actually need to do this server part, because Firebase and Firestore, those are serverless database, and we can directly connect to the database from our client side only. Means in Flutter, we can directly connect using Dart language only. We can write the code to connect with the database, so we don't need to take care of this server side coding. But yeah, to connect with MongoDB database, we need to have this server side coding. And one advantage of having this server side coding is that once you make this server side coding, you can connect this server side coding with either, if you want, uh, as in the client side, if you want your browser to be website to be your client, you can connect it easily. Or if you want Flutter or any other like React Native also, so you can connect it. So once you do the server side coding, you can use any client side client to connect with the server of using the server side coding. So here he has done one application. We don't need to do this. Okay, so we have already done this npm init, and we have made this server.js also. Now we will see how Express actually works. Okay, so app.listen, and then we pass our port number. Here we have chosen 3000. You can choose other port number also. Don't worry much about this. And then we pass our function. And for port number, just remember that we need port to run our server, some port number. So that for that purpose, we are having this 3000 port number, and we are printing something. Okay, so now let's run this and see. Okay, so we can see we have got an error. Don't worry, we will solve it. We can see in the debug console, it's saying the error is at line number 1. So we will go to line number 1. Okay, yeah. So this is the error. We have to put this in inverted commas. Okay, yeah. So please do it right like this. And on rerunning the server, we can see our server is running successfully on port 3000. And it's better if we have our port as const port equals 3000. So we are storing 3000 as our port number in the port port. Don't worry much about this. And yeah, now we can replace here it as port, and here also we can replace it with port. And don't forget to change this line with string template like this. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So to again run it, press Ctrl C to exit, then again node server.js. Okay, you can see again server is running on port 3000. But you can see if even if we change this line, we again have to run our server again and again. So for this, we'll install another package from npm, that is nodemon. We just use I, then dash capital D nodemon. So this capital D is for dev dependency. We need to install nodemon as dev dependency only. As in production level, we don't need it. So you can see it is successfully installed, and you can see it in dev dependencies we have nodemon. So I will now show you what's the benefit of that. And before that, okay, to run our code using NodeMon, we need to make our script like dev, and we need to run. Okay, don't forget to put comma here. Okay, now if we do npm, okay, so you can see npm run dev, and our server code is running on, our server is running on port 3000. So let's say if it changes to 5000 and we just save it. So with nodemon we don't need to manually run our server again and again on changing certain piece of code. It will, nodemon will automatically rerun the server on saving the code. Now we can start making our endpoints. So I have taught our first method is get. So to get any information, and it will take two parameters. Okay, I will just minimize it. First is the URL endpoint, what the name you are giving. You can give it any name and just giving slash so that it is just the home page. You can see it like that. We'll see it, or okay, yeah. And then it's the callback function. So callback function will accept two objects, request and response, and we can say that response dot send. Yay! So now if we go to our local host, yeah, so this is our API point we just made right now. So and yeah, what I was talking about, okay, like you can say like home page, home page if you give it name. Okay, so now if you go to this and reload, it cannot get because our endpoint is different. So now we have to do is home page. So now you can see like we got this. So you can understand why we are using this endpoint. So now let's understand what is this request response in details. So yes, we'll come back here this article. Okay, so you can see here app.get, this is the first, it will take two parameter. The first one is endpoint and the other one is callback. So endpoint is the requested endpoint, yeah, like right now I showed you like this home page slash, this home page is slash home page, it's our endpoint which we made just now. Okay, and this callback function, it will accept two arguments, that is request object and a response object. With request object we send information from the client side, that is in our example when we will do the coding with our task app, we will send whatever the information is there like task title and task description, we will send it using this request object, and the response is what we get from the server. So these are the two things, request and response, and we generally use it like request and response. And yeah, one more thing, like here you can see it is done like this function, and we did it like this arrow function. So the difference is only this, when we don't want to give any name to the function, so we can just use this arrow function. Here we have used arrow function. So if you want, you can also just type here, so it will work the same way, nothing. Yeah, but we'll do it this arrow function only. So, and yes, before we sign off, let me show you some good plugins which I use. So these are some of the good plugins, you can just install it. And the important one, all these are important, and this is the pretty code formatter. So just come to VS Code here and just type all these things, like I'll just show you it here. Okay, I've already installed it. So Yeah, so it will help you format your code easily, like even if you give one to space and just control s means can save it, it will automatically do it. If it does not automatically format on save, you can do this: open settings JSON, and at the last you can paste these lines from line number 170 to 174. Editor dot format on save, it's important, and then javascript editor dot default formatter. Okay guys, thank you.